Welcome, and thank you for joining us for today's discussion on B2B demand generation. Over the next 25 minutes, Brian and I will share with you some insights and advice that we hope will help you support your prospects in their buying journeys. We believe these practical steps will help you drive efficiencies within your current programs and help you deliver a fast impact. I'm James Gill, and I spent the last 20 years working closely with B2B growth teams, helping them understand, reach, and influence their potential buyers. For those of you that aren't aware of the marketing practice, we spent the last 2 years building upon our amazing foundation of 20 years experience to design the leading B2B specialist that brands can trust to drive improved performance and growth. Our global team can support you right through the funnel, as we know growth doesn't only come from driving leads or retaining customers. For today, we want to focus around how driving demand can really make an impact, and we'll share insights into the ways we can support you do that. However, if you'd like to learn more about other ways we can support you through the funnel, I encourage you to visit our website where there's some really valuable insights. So I think the first thing to address is the way your customers buy continues to evolve. This means today our buyers are taking more and more of a lead in the process. There's much more of a self-serve model, and in this process there are many more interactions. So what we need to do is ensure that each one of those interactions helps the buyer and elevates our brand. Each of these interactions are part of a complex buying process. Gartner mapped this out about a year ago, and you can see all of the different touch points that they mapped in terms of a buying process. Some of those we can influence, and we'll go into a bit more detail around that as well. I think one of the interesting things we found from some other research that recently come out from the latest demand gen report was that when buyers are navigating this complex process and looking for information, only a small minority, around 36%, are relying on vendors' websites to find the information to help them choose the solution to meet their needs. So let's start thinking about that. First of all, the majority of buyers are in a complex process that they find a challenge. However, by delivering them the right information, it can play a significant role in the decisions they make and bringing them towards our brands and solutions. So we know they want this information. However, research from IDG Foundry shows the challenge for our prospects while dealing with this complex buying process is that they can't find the right information. So on one hand, we have the content that buyers need to engage with, but they're struggling to find it. So that's the bit where I think we can really improve and make a big impact for both our customers and ourselves. So I think we need to do this by looking at the wide range of channels that are available that we can syndicate our content on and connect to our buyers to give them the information they're craving today. I mean, there's no value in creating great content if your audience never sees it. So if we've got these great assets, it's time to unlock their potential. Now, I'm sure many of you on the webinar today will have run content syndication programs, will have run third-party content promotions, and therefore you can probably add to this list of feedback that we've received in the past. We know from our first-hand experiences with our own inside sales professionals that work on lead nurture, qualification, and follow-up programs that these are real challenges. However, our experience across thousands of campaigns with hundreds of lead generation partners and content channels has armed us with the understanding of how to more effectively use these tactics and drive the results we're looking for. Because in our mind, it's not about choosing the right tactic, it's about how we use them. So from looking at those hundreds of brands we work with, we've identified 5 areas where we think we can really impact the success of sharing your content and distributing it the right way. The first point, I think, goes back to that stat around the struggle that buyers have finding valuable content. I think we need to really ensure that we understand our buyers and invest in the creation and distribution of the right information. Then I think we should really question the alignment of the content with the channels. Let's ensure, we are reaching the audiences that are important to us and choosing the channels that they rely on and trust. This point is quite interesting because there's a massive evolution going on in the marketplace for lead generation and content syndication. Every day there are new suppliers popping up, often based on being data businesses or call centers and also outsource models. As well as that, there's also consolidation in the market with the likes of Spiceworks, Ziff Davis or TechTarget. We do also need to consider the type of information we capture and the value of that as well. A lot of the campaigns we run today, we will often introduce qualification and profiling questions. This is a chance to help understand the audience a little bit more. We can use this information to prioritize follow-up and have a much more personalized approach in that follow-up process. So we need to ensure we understand what sales need and we provide them the information that gives them the edge. Next, we need to ensure that expectations are set correctly. Any single content engagement could be a sign of early stage interest. So please think about how you handle these prospects. As we saw earlier on with the graph from Gartner and the stats from Forrester as well, there are many steps, many interactions and touch points in the journey before any of these prospects will be sales ready. And then finally, we need to ensure that we can measure our performance and be able to test. We need to look at how different audience segments work, how different content performs, how each channel drives different engagement. Where are we getting the most engagement from? Where are we getting the leads that progress the fastest? Once we have all this information, we can start to really build up these campaigns. So I really would encourage you today to ask yourself these questions about the campaigns you're running. I hope by framing the importance of content within this complex buying journey where our buyers have challenges, really helps you think about how you can unlock the potential of the assets that you have. Here are some of the outcomes that, I hope that you will experience by having that best of breed approach to content distribution. I'd love to have a chat with you about your experiences and how we can build the right outcomes for you too. But first, today we're going to cover more than just distributing great content. So I have the pleasure now of handing you over to Brian. Over to you, Brian.
Great. Thank you, James. Really appreciate the walkthrough of the content syndication clinic. My role on this webinar is to talk about taking MQLs to the next level and taking them into the demand generation outbound motion. And my role at Marketing Practice is Senior Vice President of Demand Generation, and I work across all of our clients in how do we turn digital demand into actionable sales qualified opportunities. And I want to share some of the best practice that we have in that space with you today. Oh. Sorry, there was always going to be a failure. Apologies. So at the Marketing Practice, we want to take a circular economy approach to pipeline optimization. We believe that as it stands today, an awful lot of value is wasted within the MQL space, and I will take you through some of the reasons why we think that. But first and foremost, let me define what a circular economy is, or a non-circular economy in this case. So a non-circular economy in today's world is where we take, make, and then throw things away. It's a world where there's it's less hassle to buy new than it is to recycle the old, and we don't think about the costs or the wider challenges that this might create. And when we apply that to demand generation, or B2B demand generation, it could look like this. Spending, a huge volume of spend is placed in display and in channels like LinkedIn. More than 5 billion in the US alone on display. And by next year, we think that 2 billion is going to be spent on LinkedIn. display ads. So a huge volume of money is being spent, but that money is being spent in the hope that it's going to generate the right opportunities. But we know that only 27% of MQLs generated are actually qualified at the stage of being generated, but all of those MQLs that are generated are passed to sales. So there's a very small proportion that are likely to ever progress from a sales perspective. But even worse, because there is a bad reputation about the types of opportunities that are created, sales can end up ignoring the MQLs, irrespective of whether they're qualified or not qualified. And again, there's research to suggest that between 35 to 64% of MQLs never get called, and of those that do get called, they're receiving a maximum of 1 to 2 attempts before being qualified out. So spend, hope, and then ignore is very much a metaphor for the way that demand generation is typically run in the UK today. So we've got 4 steps to pipeline happiness in the context of the webinar today, and I'll take you through what those are now. So when we think about demand generation and the MQLs that you have available to you, step 1 is decluttering the masses. Our clients have typically thousands of MQLs that are sitting there that are unused within their CRM platforms. And the start point for us would be to analyze the raw data that sits behind those MQLs. We'd want to remove the duplicates, enrich the missing data fields, prioritize the leads based on your ideal customer profiles. And the last stage of that journey is really understanding what additional levels of insight and information could we apply against those MQLs that would enable us to have a better, more qualified sales conversation going forward. So fundamentally, step 1 is improving on just hope. Step 2 is all about narrowing the playing field. We've got a lot of data to get through. We need to start fast. We need to utilize a high volume calling motion to cleanse the data. Let's sweep through it quickly. Let's remove any information that's out of date. And by the end of that step 2 process, we want to end up with a clean, prioritized data set where we can then take into an outbound profiling exercise. Step 3 is all around hunting for the golden fields. We want to understand that, what pieces of information can we gather through an outbound calling motion where, if we find those pieces of information, sales are going to have a more productive conversation. Things like incumbent vendor, tech stack, renewal dates, consumption patterns, number of users. These are all integral pieces of information that are hard to find and very difficult to buy. And we can enable additional account insights through the calling motion that will then go back into your CRM, that will improve your understanding of each account and overall improve your understanding of your ideal customer profile. So the value that this process brings to marketing is not just the short-term, can it generate me some additional sales opportunities, but it's a longer-term value to your long-term ABM and account understanding. And the final step in the process is how do we then leverage the additional insights that we've gathered to then book sales opportunities. Ultimately, sales opportunities are the lifeblood of any organization, and every organization is looking for increased volumes of pipeline, and ideally as quickly as possible. It's a natural progression once you've started to engage with the MQLs, speak to the decision makers, get through the gatekeepers. It's a natural progression to find additional information that can then position your conversation, your sales conversation, more favorably to the end audience. And ultimately, our job here is to effectively take somebody who's in research mode, who wants to understand more about a particular subject matter, and put that person in touch with a subject matter expert, because that then brings in the intersect between digital and human very, very clearly. And we know that in a modern B2B buying journey, that intersection of digital and human is incredibly important to drive opportunities forward. And when done properly, it's a win-win for both parties. It's a win for the person who's researching and downloading that information in the first instance, and it's a win for your organization because you're managing to progress those opportunities in a more professional manner than potentially you would have done previously. So the circular economy future that we want to have around pipeline creation is what we're showing here. Firstly, we want to invest. We want to align the audience, the message, and the channels to maximize engagement. But we need to ensure that there's a right process in place to take advantages of the investments made. The second stage is to cultivate. We want to sort the wheat from the chaff. MQL generation isn't just the start of the insight gathering and the nurture journey. It's just the start, sorry, not the end. And by the time we come to harvest the insights and the data that we have, we need to adopt a sustainability mindset. Golden Field insights prepare us, for the foundation layer for future pipeline within our organizations. And MQL generation shouldn't just be about converting to SQL as quickly as possible. Understanding that there's additional insights that are available through the Golden Fields is incredibly important part of the process. So there's three key takeaways that we would like to leave you with today before we wrap up and offer you the chance to ask any questions. Buyers need to, as James articulated through the start of the presentation, buyers need your help to supply them with the content that they need. Content is the lifeblood of B2B. It's where our audience are going first and foremost to do the research that will start them on their buying journey. So making that information as easy to find is a critical part of your success. Secondly, not all content syndication is the same, and you need to be clear that you're asking the right questions. Again, James referenced that the marketplace is ever changing, new players coming in, and not all players are the same. So really being clear about the right questions is really important to ensure that you're maximizing the value in your investments. And finally, MQLs are expensive to generate, and they need to be cherished. And hopefully through the MQL rewarming and the circular economy approach to thinking about MQLs, we've given you some thoughts around how you can ensure that you maximize your investments in that valuable data source. James, did you want to sum it up?
Yeah, thank you very much for that, Brian. Especially for summing up at the end there. And I think your point as well, right at the end, it is what I think we're hearing from a lot of customers today isn't about necessarily bringing in new tactics or brand new ways of working. It's really about working smarter and driving those efficiencies, either, as you mentioned, from the investments that are already made, or being able to really measure and test and understand the tactics and the channels that we're using today and seeing where we can drive that additional performance. And that starts with, as you've put here on the slide, what can we do right now to impact the current quarter, but also set ourselves up for success in the future as well. I'm not sure if we have any questions or not, but if not, we can wrap up.
There is no open questions, so I think we can wrap up.
Okay, fantastic. For anyone that would like a copy of the slides, please get in contact and we'll send those out. The marketing team will also be in contact to send you details of the recording to this, and we'll be in touch shortly with more information. Thank you very much for your time today. And Brian, thank you for your support on this.
Thank you. Cheers, James. Bye-bye.